Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Listen Up Girl podcast. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman. Today's LGBTQ news is for Thursday, July 23rd. We have a lot going on today, so let's get right into the news. First up, a Republican senator is using LGBTQ adjacent leverage to take on the administration. And honestly, we should talk about it. First, Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas is threatening to block two of the president's ambassadorial nominees, including Kari Lake, unless the White House can show that it is actually releasing congressionally approved funds for PEPFAR. That's the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, the program that has saved an estimated 26 million lives since 2003. The Orange Convicted Felons Administration has frozen roughly $10 billion in PEPFAR funding that Congress already appropriated. Cornyn, who just lost his re-election bid after the Orange Convicted Felons endorsed his primary opponent, says he is done playing nice. He told reporters he estimates about $1.3 billion is ready to be released immediately, and he wants answers on the rest. Here's the part that matters. Senate Foreign Relations Committee vote on Kari Lake's nomination as ambassador to Jamaica is happening today. Cornyn could single-handedly stall it, and he says he does not expect to be alone. Meanwhile, a new study released this week found that the administration cuts to foreign aid have shuttered 1,700 HIV treatment sites around the world. South Africa, which has the highest population of people living with HIV anywhere on Earth, is watching the United States completely pull out. This is a Republican senator using his leverage to fight for a global HIV program because the administration won't do it on its own. And that is where we are. Our next story is Indonesia mob attacks on trans women. Now to a story that is deeply disturbing and absolutely has to be told. In Bogor, West Java, Indonesia, at least 10 transgender women have been subjected to 3 separate mob attacks over the past 2 months. Amnesty International Indonesia has confirmed the numbers. Footage of the attacks has been circulating online. In one video, a group of men chasing, punch, and kick a trans woman walking along a street at night. The perpetrators find themselves, as they did, and filmed themselves dousing her with what is believed to be urine. These attacks are carried out under the banner of a group calling itself Bogor Free of LGBTQ. They are operating in an environment made more dangerous by a presidential regulation, signed earlier this year, that officially classifies LGBTQ culture as a national security threat. The country's human rights minister did condemn the attacks, saying vigilant violence cannot be tolerated, but Bogor mayor, in the same breath, told city officials to patrol what he called social deviance. That language tells you everything you need to know about the normalized hate that has become part of this government. Amnesty International is calling for accountability, and so are we. Our next story is federal book ban and Senate companion bill. If you thought the book ban fight was state-level problem, just got federal, and it's fast-moving. Congress is advancing not one but 2 bills aimed at banning any educational material that mentions transgender identity from public school in America. The House bill called the Stop the Sexualization of Children Act is already on the House floor calendar, and last month a Senate companion bill was introduced and referred to Health, Education, and Labor and Pensions Committee. The American Library Association is sounding the full alarm. Their president has said the legislation, quote, treats 17-year-olds the same as kindergartners. The bill would define anything involving gender dysphoria or transgender identity as sexually oriented material, and schools that don't comply would lose their federal funding. Think about what that means. A book about a kid figuring out their gender, gone. A biography of a transgender person is out. A story where a character has 2 moms, depending on the interpretation, possibly pull 2. More than 130 publishers, booksellers, librarians, and literary organizations have signed a letter opposing this. Major publishing houses are on it, and authors are speaking out. The coalition is enormous, and they are right. If both chambers pass this bill, this becomes the law of the land, and today, call your senators and tell them no. Next, Ohio teacher wins drag show settlement. So here's some good news that took a while to get there. 2 Iowa school teachers who were disciplined by their school district for organizing a student drag show have won a $150,000 settlement. The teachers sued, arguing their district discriminated against them based on their sexual orientation. The drag show had been a school event, student organized, school sanctioned. The school district reacted by disciplining the teachers who made it happen. These teachers fought back, and today they won. The settlement matters, not just for them, but for every queer educator watching this across the country, wondering if their job is safe if they show up as authentic. $150,000 says you're right to fight. Our next story is Seattle's Denny Blaine queer nude beach survives. A win for the queer community of Seattle with some nuisance attached. A King County Superior Court has ruled that Denny Blaine Park, Seattle's historically LGBTQ plus nude beach on the shores of Lake Washington, will remain open. Neighbors led by a wealthy developer had sued the city, demanding the park be closed entirely, and the judge said no. The park has been gathering space for the queer community and naturists since the 1980s. The lawsuit alleged that the city was failing to manage what neighbors called a public nuisance. The judge agreed that there were issues with lewd behavior in the park, but declined to close it. Instead, the city had been ordered to implement a conduct code, increase staff, and maintain better visual buffers. An LGBTQ plus led advocacy group, Friends of Denny Blaine, intervened in the case and fought to keep the park open. The city attorney declared the ruling a win, since the park's clothing optional use is now protected in writing. It's a complicated ruling, but the park stays open, and for the queer community that has been called a home for decades, that is what matters. The next Spokane coffee shop community fights back. So we're ending today with a story about a community that did not stay silent, and they won. A bikini barista coffee stand in Spokane, Washington, called the Second Base Espresso, put up a reader board sign that used a vile slur against transgender women. The sign was hateful. It was also combined with another horrible slur. In fact, in plain view of drivers on the street. After a massive backlash online and a flood of one-star reviews, the sign came down. But the story didn't end there. A week later, a protest organized by a queer Spokane resident and parent showed up outside the business on Sunday afternoon. Counter-protesters showed up too, claiming the sign was protected speech. And you know what? Legally, it probably was. But here's the thing. First Amendment means the government can't arrest you for what you put on the sign. It does not mean the community has to stand there and say nothing. And they didn't. The Spokane community organized. They showed up. They put their bodies and their signs outside the coffee stand and said, this does not represent us. That's the power of community, and that's how it works. So that's the news for today on Wednesday, July 23rd. If today's show moved you, please share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you have a minute, leave a rating and a review, because it makes a real difference helping more people find this show. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at TheRealZach, R-E, and visit listenupgrow.com for every episode. See you tomorrow with more news. Thanks for listening.